I'm here with Chip and Heather, two of the leadership here at the USDA FEMI account. They've agreed to join the first ever HSF bracket challenge video, and they have spent the last many hours researching their picks, and they are now ready to begin. They challenge you to try to beat their bracket.
Okay.
Let's do it.
We'll jump in. All right, so we're going to start with the Midwest region with #1 overall selection, Kentucky. So I don't think there's much I have to say about them winning that initial game against a play-in team, even though I'm sure Dwight would love to see Hampton in the biggest upset of all time. Moving down the line, I'll be referring to my notes. Based on information I've gathered through all of our extensive research, as well as Madam Heather's experience being part of the Big Ten Conference, we picked Purdue to beat Cincinnati in the first round. Moving down the list, we have Buffalo as the winner of the next game against West Virginia. Buffalo actually has an 8-game winning streak going into the tournament based on some of the analysis we saw, so we felt like that was a strong indicator. And West Virginia's kind of limping in, losing, I think, 3 out of the last 4.
Our client would support that as well based on their affinity for West Virginia as well. So it's also based on client feedback.
That's a very good point. If you're a supporter of USDA FEMI shared services, you hate West Virginia because that's where Jeff Hoag's people were moved when Treasury lost their financial organization here in downtown DC. So very good point.
All kidding aside, we love West Virginia. No
As a state. So if anyone's from there who's watching this, please don't come talk to us. Okay, next one. Supporting our man Sid and many of our other folks on the team, we have University of Maryland Terrapins, the local team, Under Armour geared squad, moving on into the second round. From there, we are picking the traditional Cinderella, no more, actually, the Butler team, also a member of the Big East, and I'll just give you guys a spoiler alert as we go through this. Because she's Big Ten and I'm from Georgetown, Big East, you'll see a lot of Big East and Big Ten teams winning where appropriate or where there's any kind of tiebreaker. That's what we went with. Moving down the line, a traditional Big East squad who is no more, but also a special shout out to our fearless overall office managing director, Marty Rogers. We selected Notre Dame to win the next game in our list. Moving down to kind of speed up a bit, we have Wichita State, who's had a great year, and the University of Kansas, a perennial powerhouse, winning the next 2 games. Coming on down the list to the West bracket, we'll cover the Sweet 16 and come back up if that's okay. We have Wisconsin, again another Big Ten team, and has been touted as one of the potential stumbling blocks that the University of Kentucky might have, but we'll see if our bracket actually provides that matchup. Moving along, we have the probably best uniform team, according to Nike fans, the Oregon Ducks winning the next game. A team that has had a pretty challenging week, particularly their best player, Portis, at Arkansas. They got beat up by Kentucky in the SEC championship game. We feel like they have to bounce back, and particularly our man, Mr. Portis. So we have them winning the next game against Wofford. Traditional power again, UNC win the next game. Also, we've already given Marty 1 nugget with University of Notre Dame. We can't give him 2 to let his other school in Harvard win the next matchup.
Sounds fair to me.
Okay. Moving down, we have Xavier beating the play-in teams again, and in no way throughout this bracket did we pick any of the play-in super upsets. There's a limited amount of information on these teams and how they match up against the corresponding opponents, so we just played it safe in our regard and just picked the higher seed here. Coming on down the line, we have the Baylor Bears winning the next game. Our former office managing director, Stu Solomon, is a big alumni of that team, and obviously RG3 for the Washington football franchise fans who will not say the other name. We picked the Baylor Bears. All right, so moving down, in a very important pick for Heather Whitlock, we'll let Heather write this in.
Yes.
Because this is fundamental to who she is.
We are definitely going to VCU on this one, not Ohio State. That's for you, Doug Clark. Woohoo! All right. And then to close it off, we got to go Arizona. Close out the West.
Okay.
All right.
So we're into the Sweet 16 on this side. We're now going to move over to the East and at least cover the round of 32 for these teams. Okay, so start at the top again. Big East, Big East. And also another number 1 seed, we have the Villanova Wildcats winning this game. I watched a great 30 for 30 on the NC State Championship in '83. So I have to pick NC State as a memorial to Jim Valvano. Also, LSU had a horrible SEC tournament, losing to Auburn early in that tournament, so I don't see them being very strong in that. Another fun fact I found on the internet this afternoon when I was supposed to be working, that I guess 11 of the last 16, 8, 9 games have gone to the higher seed. All right, so moving on down, I picked a slight upset based primarily on location of the game. So we're playing out in the Pacific Northwest. I picked Wyoming over northern Iowa. Traditional power, and also in support of Rick Pitino. I picked Louisville in the next game. Can't beat the coaching and can't beat the tradition there. Again, going back to our Big East connection, we have Providence winning the play-in game. Again, we don't have much faith in the super underdogs. The one underdog we have selected so far to kind of go a little bit further is Albany. We'll come back to how far they go in the next kind of walkthrough. The one deviation from Miss Heather's wishes that I did make is I picked Michigan State.
Oh, good. No,
to beat Georgia.
I fully support Michigan State in these types of activities.
Okay, good. I'll make sure I don't get in trouble. All right, so another team that had a bad week in their tournament, losing to North Carolina, was Virginia. But I feel like as a number 2 seed, a team that only lost 3 games all year, they will still beat my hometown team, even though I didn't go there, the Belmont University team, who had another shocking win in their tournament to get into the big dance. Okay, so moving on. The team you love to hate or love to love, depending on where you're from, the Duke Blue Devils. I do have them winning at least their first game. We'll talk more about how much further they go. Moving down the line, again, Big East, Big East. St. John's winning over San Diego State. Have the Utes winning against SF Austin, and then my squad, my school where I attended, Georgetown, winning their first game against Eastern Washington. Okay, I won't say too much more about them until we come back to the next round. All right, so for the next one, we have the champion of the All-American Conference, some made-up conference of some random schools, to be honest, and a traditional power with a gazillion championships, UCLA. So I had to go with UCLA here, even though they are the lower seed. You have to go with some tradition and a sense of at least some of those guys have been there before. All right, so to finish up these brackets, we'll go with Iowa State. Again, Big Ten, right? We have Iowa, Big Ten. And one of my favorites who's never seemed to really break through, even as a top team in the past, we have the Zags from Gonzaga. Okay, so we at least have the first couple of rounds covered, and we'll move back to the left. All right? So going back to the Wildcats of Kentucky, I can't see a reason why Purdue, even though they're a Big Ten team.
You got to go Kentucky.
They got to go Kentucky. All right, moving down again to support Sid and our Under Armour endorsement deal we have on FEMI. I have to go with the University of Maryland, winning this next game. Again, another special shout out to Marty. We have Notre Dame beating Butler, even though they are our biggest team, so I made some sacrifices personally. Next, we have Kansas winning against Wichita State. Wisconsin to get back on our Big Ten bandwagon. And then next, again, another minor upset. I think Arkansas will beat UNC. They're a very athletic team, pretty long in the post, like to press, like to run. UNC's kind of been up and down this year, so we'll see if our predictions are correct. Moving down, we went back with Baylor to beat Xavier, so I gave up yet another Big East team. And then lastly, we have the Arizona Wildcats beating VCU. I'm a big fan of Shaka Smart, the coach of VCU. Questions? Concerns? All right. Heather, am I doing okay?
You're doing great.
All right, cool. All right,
so see your picks for the next round.
All right, so moving back to the East, a lot of these picks and a lot of my thought process here, our thought process here, is based on location. You got Syracuse, Carradome, traditional Big East, again, a stronghold. You got the Wildcats and NC State, again, in the first game. And Nova's got a lot of experience playing in this venue, so I expect them to get back to the Carradome to play once again. Moving back to my previous thoughts on Louisville, again, tradition. You have a former champion in recent years, lots of tradition, great coaching. I think they beat Wyoming, even though you have a team on the rise out there. Again, going back to my upsets, sacrificing yet another Big East squad, I have Albany, a team that's made it to the tournament a few years over the past 5. I see them breaking through and being the one Cinderella, at least in this bracket. And Michigan State, even though Heather was supportive of the Spartans earlier, I think that UVA will persevere and get to the next round. Moving down to, again, the team you love to love or love to hate, I will still pick Duke to beat St. John's. They're a pretty good team, but they're fairly immature in the post. I don't see how they can stop Mr. Okafor, potential player of the year candidate. Again, personal pick next. I do have Georgetown beating Utah. Some have said on TV and in the papers that Georgetown is overseeded. They're too highly rated. And just talking to our friend Doug Clark outside, he feels like anytime you bet on them, they're going to lose. So I'm going to bet on them one more time. Hopefully they don't lose before they get to this point, but we're going to go with that. Moving on down, I think UCLA, again, is a little bit overmatched despite the tradition, so we're going back to the Big Ten support. We have Iowa State, and again, my buddies out on the West Coast, the Zags, I feel will beat Iowa. All right, so popping back over to the left, easy decision, kind of broken record, we're sticking with UK. I feel like in this case, Marty, we've given enough. Kansas Jayhawks will beat Notre Dame. Continue to move on. We will pick Wisconsin to beat Arkansas. Got too many big guys, 6'10", 7'1", guys in the post, and despite the athleticism of Arkansas, they'll be overmatched. Another team that's been sort of forgotten in recent years, since they play on the West Coast, but have always been traditionally strong and are back in a powerful position, is Arizona, so we pick Arizona to move forward there. Again, on my logic on the Carradome experience, and also only losing 2 games for the entire year, I have the Villanova Wildcats moving on. Virginia will beat Albany, so this Cinderella's night will end before we get close to the big show. And this is also for Duke. I expect them to move forward, beating my Hoyas in a surprisingly close game. And then lastly, again, one of my favorites, I'll go with the Zags to persevere. Got a lot of upperclassmen, 2 big men, again, similar to Baylor with one guy over 7 feet and another guy at 6'10", who can really handle the ball. All right, broken record again, UK. I think the only question in this bracket is how much they beat these teams by. And then lastly, in a tough one, this is a very tough decision. Heather and I agonized over this greatly. We picked Arizona over Wisconsin. Wisconsin looked great getting to the Final Four last year. Very senior-laden team, but they've had some key injuries. At particular point guard spot early in the year, and I think they will succumb to Arizona.
Those injuries get you every time, Chip.
That's what happens on our program often. All right, so back to the left. Again, we're still in the Carradome here, so I got to pick Nova over UVA. A quietly deadly team. And then lastly, to finally get rid of the Dukies, we have Gonzaga finally breaking through and getting to the Final Four. All right? Back to the left, you can only imagine who we're picking here. We've got the Wildcats once more. And on the right, it's a tough choice, but I think in a little bit of a, I wouldn't say it's an upset, but a team that probably hasn't gotten as much publicity as they deserve. And again, another traditional Big East powerhouse. If my Hoyas can't make it, at least Villanova will be there. And a key thing about this, and everyone always does with their own school, Georgetown beat Villanova 1 out of 2 games in the regular season. So if Nova were to persevere, we're the second best team in the country, I think. And lastly, not surprising, decision. And Heather, you want to come in for this? To write in our potential champion?
Yes, yes. All right, absolutely. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, you got to go with Kentucky.
Okay, so that's it for us. We have the Kentucky Wildcats, hopefully by 12 or more if you are people ready in Vegas. Best of luck with your brackets.
There you go. Thank you, Chip and Heather, again. Now it's your chance to go top their bracket and let the madness begin.